G'day, g'day, wherever you are in the world of the interwebs. You're tuned to Mastering Music, Mastering Life. Tony Jack, the Bear Man's here with you for another episode, doing it solo this time round. As I mentioned earlier in the year, one of my challenges is once a month to put a little solo effort together and rant and rave for a little while and talk about things that are relevant, that's been going on for me, share a few stories and maybe cast a few pearls of wisdom for those of you who are opening to listening and checking it out. Very quick thanks first up to the Cave Hub in Bond Street, Abbotsford. The Farnham boys out there doing wonderful things for the Melbourne music scene. For those of you who are looking for a really great rehearsal space to do any pre-production, or maybe you want to find a great venue, a licensed venue that will hold about 350 people just beautifully, go and speak to them, check them out. Bond Street, Abbotsford, the Cave Hub. And also a very quick thank you to our friends at Amiga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA Academy in Down Street, Collingwood. George Soteropoulos running the show out there. Former world number 3 UFC veteran. One of the coaches on the Ultimate Fighter Championship reality TV show from a few years back. Very accomplished martial artist and a fantastic coach. I love training down there. So if you're interested in even trying it out, I recommend you go down there and speak to George. You can get a couple of free lessons to see if you like it. And if you're into it, away you go. Okay, so today what I want to focus on is to talk particularly to those of you who are looking to get work experience in the music industry. This is the time of year that I get a lot of applications, emails, inquiries from people that want to come and either get a job or just get work experience because they're at high school. It's part of a program they're on, or audio students who have to get 40 hours under their belt as part of their course. And it's a great idea that people that go to school go out there and see what it's like in the real world. So what I want to share with you is some of the things that don't work, at least in my opinion, as someone that gets approached by a lot of people, some of the things that do work, and some other things that extend outside of that, which hopefully may help you, particularly to those who want to go off and make a meaningful career in the music business. So the first biggest mistake that I see, but I understand why this happens, is people getting mum and dad to call or write on behalf of the kids. It's a very, very daunting thing to try and approach someone when you cold call, when you're looking for work. But one of the things about work experience, the real world of work involves you going out to get a job, to apply for a job, whether it is something that is advertised or whether it is something where you as a freelancer, I'm a freelancer, and in the early days of my career, I had to go and cold call and hit people up, people I didn't know, at a time when I didn't have any track record, which of course makes it harder because, let's face it, when you're dealing with an unproven quantity in any area, you think, well, why do I want to work with them? Why do I want to work with him or her when I'm used to working with this person? I'm very happy. I don't know anything about you. These are normal questions that people would ask, but these are the things that you are going to encounter. And especially when you're doing it for the very first time, you're at school, whether it's later years of high school, early years of college, you're going to have to cold call. I will always try and get back to people. It doesn't always work because I don't have the time. But when I get a mum or a dad ringing, emailing on behalf of their kid, I've got to be honest with you, I don't respond to the emails. I just straight away. Now, they're not to know better. I don't have enough time in the day to try and educate every single person. But if they call me, the first thing I tell them is say, look, I understand why you're doing this, but you're really not doing your kid any favours. But please get them to give me a call. I will definitely have a chat with them. People think that everyone's going to be really nasty and say, fuck off. And it doesn't really work that way. You are going to get rejected. You are going to get times when people, they won't get back to you. But that's really part of life. I still get rejected, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that very soon. But first thing is I want to say, just get a hold of people that you want to either do the work experience or get the job or, just sort of contact. Sometimes you may not get 40 hours at a certain place because people, for whatever reason, can't accommodate you. I know that I have a professional commercial facility, but I can't hold 40 hours for someone here in the week. And what I tend to do is give a person a day here or a day there, as in the hope that they can maybe go to another place and a few different places and get their 40 hours racked up over a period of time. So maybe you can, instead of asking for 40 hours, you could say, hey, listen, I do a college course in audio. I'm looking for some work experience. I need 40 hours. But if I can't get 40 hours, I'll take 8 hours or 5 hours or 12 hours or whatever hours you're prepared to give me. So do all you can to try and be accommodating to the people you're dealing with. Also, the one thing I'm going to suggest is you do some research on the studio or the person that you want to get the work experience with. One of the things I really appreciate when people approach me is when they're able to demonstrate that they've done some kind of homework on me. You guys now have the internet. It is got so much information on there. I've been on some podcasts. If you want to do research on me, you could find out quite a lot about me and actually really impress me with the fact that you've done your homework. And the people that actually have taken the time to do that usually do get my attention, not because it strokes my ego, but because it demonstrates to me that these people have made a real effort. They've shown some initiative and they are focused as to, they have a purpose as to why they want to work with me. They're not just saying, well, we want to work with you because you're one of a long list of people and we just carpet bombed the whole internet. So that's something that I appreciate, and I think you'll find a lot of other people do. So be a little targeted, do your research, hit people up, and if they don't get back to you straight away, understand that people are busy. They have lives. They have businesses to run. And it's not about you. It's very easy to feel that the rejection is about you and to get very despondent, and then to run the story in your head that you're no good, no one wants to work with you, and that you're just going to give up on your dreams straight away. I can tell you now, as someone that's been involved in music for the vast majority of my working life, so I'm into my 4th decade now of doing this, that I still get rejected. I'll do a podcast, okay? Now, I have a quite lofty heights in terms of the people that I want to speak with and get on my podcast. People that don't know me, people that have nothing to do with me, and people that, logically speaking, I can see why would they want to deal with me? I've got nothing necessarily that's going to help in terms of promoting them, or I have a big following, which is kind of the name of the game now. I mean, this is these are the things that are normal to think about. This is how it kind of works. People look at your figures and your numbers. So as a small podcast that is growing, I can see why people go, well, it's not going to help. But it's not to my surprise, because I know how these things work, but to my delight, I should say, and I guess I should say a little bit of surprise in some cases. I'm now talking to, I can't mention names yet because we haven't locked it in, but one very heavy duty A-list mix engineer who's worked with some of the biggest metal bands and rock bands in the world, who doesn't know me, but has expressed interest and said, yeah, man, we'll get it happening. Now, he's a really busy guy. We've had a lot of emails. We've had a couple of false starts. I don't exactly know when it's going to happen, but it will. And once it does, I'll let you know about it. But that's just one example. And I've got other people that haven't got back to me, and I've tried and I'll continue to try. But sometimes what I tell myself why these people don't get back to me is I understand that they haven't targeted me. That I'm not so special in their life where they're going to sit back there and go, well, let's fuck up this guy's day. They're busy, or the reality is that I am bringing value to the table. And that is something that's important for you guys to understand as well. And that is, when you're dealing with anyone for whatever reason, you want someone's time, you want someone's resources, you want someone's attention. The reality is this: you need to bring something of value. Now, value is a perceived thing, and everyone values different things in a different kind of way. So, in a general podcast sense, you can understand the value would be, well, look at someone like a Joe Rogan, okay? Joe Rogan, for those who don't know, probably runs the biggest podcast in the world. And then that guy could virtually get anyone he wants. Why? Because bottom line is he has millions of people that follow him. So if someone is writing a book, or they have a tour, or they have something that they want to promote, it makes sense that, they would actually be clamoring to get onto Joe Rogan's podcast, if you know what I mean. So So in that respect, you can see where there's got to be some kind of a two-way thing. And you know, and in the sense of someone like a Joe Rogan, well, he can also sort of think, well, you know, who's going to bring value to me? Who's going to bring bigger profile? Who's going to help my cause as well? Although I'm sure that's not exactly what he thinks exclusively, but you get what I mean. There's got to be some kind of exchange going on. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, maybe right now I'm not ready to have these people on my podcast. Maybe I'm not ready for them. And so I just have to keep persevering with what I'm doing. And as I keep doing what I love and get better at it and improve my skills as a podcaster and learn more about marketing and strategy and all these kind of things, well, eventually, the theory in my mind is eventually these people come along as they're meant to and when they're meant to. And I am absolutely fine and comfortable in that. So maybe in your case too, if someone doesn't get back to you, maybe you're not ready, particularly when you're new and fresh at something. It may take a little time for you to get more experience and develop yourself more professionally and personally before you're ready to go into that certain level. Shouldn't stop you from aspiring towards going towards these big things, but by the same token, understand that, you know, we all fit in where we're meant to, and we all are where we're meant to be at any given point in time. Even if it feels like it's not where we want to be, it's probably where we should be, because that's where we need to do the learning and the growing. So for those of you on the work experience tip, just to recap, don't get mum and dad on the phone, do the research, make sure you persist. A good rule of thumb to me is about every two weeks is probably a good time. Now, after about 3 or 4 times, I think that's probably a good time to go, you know what, I'm going to back off, or there may be something else happening in the background that you're not aware of. It's not about you. Move on to the next person. And you know what, maybe in the future, you'll be grateful as to why that person didn't get onto you, because, you know, by stopping knocking on one door, you've gone on to another door, and that door was the perfect door for you to go through. You didn't realize that at the time because you're so focused in this particular direction. But, you know, people talk about hindsight being a wonderful thing. Well, of course, you can't really understand, appreciate hindsight until that time has passed for you to be able to go, right, here's my frame of reference between this time and that time, and oh, this all makes sense now, and I can backtrack and connect the dots, and it all makes sense. So just try and bear that in mind when you're dealing with people and trying to get your foot in certain kind of doors. Now, for those of you who are doing the work experience thing, I want to also give you this bit of advice, and that is that the best way to get your foot in the door is to build your own door to put your own foot through. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? What that means is the way you guys are going to have careers for the most part will be as freelance operators in your respective fields. Work experience is great for you to see what happens in the real world, working with professionals. It's a good place for you to go and learn, ask questions, observe, then take those skills and then go home and implement them in your own situation. The freelance market is where it's at. It's been that way for quite a long period of time because, as you're well aware, big studios now have just shut down, downsized. More and more people that were working in really big studios that I know, colleagues of mine, they've now had to set up at home and doing very well. They don't have the overhead. They're able to be competitive price-wise and still are able to give a good service. But nonetheless, they are one-man shows. They may have an assistant. They may have a booking person, but they're not in the big juggernaut that they used to work in the good old days when the big budgets were rolling around. So setting yourself up in your own business is where it's at. And if you want to be successful in your own business, one of the key skills you need to have is great relationship building and communication skills. Now, in my experience, I'll relay a story to you. The guy that taught me how to cut vinyl, his name is Rick Essig, and this was in Frankfurt Wayne in New York. And one of the things, and I may have said this story before to some of you, but I think it bears repeating, and that is, he said to me that 80% of the job, and that was in the mastering business particularly at that stage, was bullshit. Now, bullshit, in his view, was in America what they call the hang time, the ability to be with clients, to hang out with them, to understand them, to have a relationship, to have good communication, to have them feel like you're invested in their art, that you're genuinely interested in what they're doing, you're prepared to go that extra step, and they feel that you're just right in there with them. You know, you can be a great engineer, you can be a great photographer, you can be a great any craftsman or artist, but when you're dealing with clients and these clients don't like you, or they don't feel that they can trust you, or that you are genuinely invested in what they're doing, then you can be an absolute fucking gun at a certain job, but it's not going to carry you very far, because if you're an arsehole, you're an arsehole. It's as simple as that. So I'm not saying that you can be a sweetheart and be no good at your job. Yes, you've got to be good. You've got to be skilled. You've got to be on top of things. But when you can deal well with people, understand people, take a genuine interest in what they're doing, then it's going to get you a lot further. One of the things that I strive to do in my business is that when I deal with clients, and I'm aware that right now, living at a time when we have so much competition around, although I don't like the notion of competition, but nonetheless, so many more people out there, so many great options, so many great bangs for the buck, it can get overwhelming. And one of the things that I think works for me, and one of the things that work well for you or anyone for that matter, is understanding that you need to be caring about the client. So how do you do that? Well, apart from being nice and saying nice things about them, it's about taking the time to find out more about. In my case, I want to find out more about my client. Tell me about your music. Tell me about how you had it recorded. Let me have a listen to what you've done. Let me see what I can do to help you. What are the ways I can bring some value to you in ways that other people don't necessarily do? I'm absolutely surprised as to how many times I hear people say, oh my God, I can't believe it. I got in touch with so-and-so or so-and-so, and all they did was just send me back an email and give me a quote. And that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But I can tell you now that if you're not going to go the extra yard for people, and I'm not saying bend over backwards and be a doormat and sacrifice your time and everything and just go completely out of your way. What I'm saying is take some genuine interest in people, communicate with them, make them feel like you care. These are the things that are going to get them to open up more. This is what builds the trust, and this is what's going to allow you to create that bond, which will then allow you to then be able to work together. Remember that people love to buy, but nobody wants to be sold to. So when you're not pushing yourself, when you're not just being standoffish, when you're being warm, friendly, genuine, authentic with people, that's going to take you a long way further than anyone else who is technically amazing. So even when it comes down to this work experience caper kids, the thing is that communicate well with people. Be honest, be sincere about where you're at. It's okay to not know things. People want to come in and they will give, these long resumes and say, oh, I can do this and I can do that, when a lot of the time, most CVs are generally, at best, they're embellished, and at worst, they're just complete fabrications. So it's okay to not know. It's absolutely fine. You know what? Most people prefer to deal with people that don't know, so that they can be taught their way, than to have some smart ass come in and think that they can take them to school because they've happened to done X tutorials online or certain courses or read all these books or what have you. No one wants a smart ass. That's not to say that we're not open to information from you young guys, because I learn a lot from my juniors here. But just remember that they're the boss. They're the people doing you the favour, not the other way around. So communicate well, be honest, be sincere, and that'll get you a lot further than coming in and trying to pretend that you're something that you're not. Now, one of the things you're going to get a lot of is rejection. During this time, when you go and try and get your foot in the door somewhere, you are going to get rejection. Sometimes that rejection is a straight out, listen, I'm sorry, we're not interested. Sometimes it's a rejection by just no reply. When that happens, please understand again, as I mentioned before, don't take it personally. You've got to develop a thick skin. The faster you can get into your mind that rejection isn't about you, the better off you're going to be. And I know I probably touched on it a bit earlier, but I thought again, it just bared repeating, because I cannot stress enough the importance of understanding that rejection sometimes can actually be your friend. And that's something you can find out a little bit later on. Alrighty. One other thing I want to talk to you about is politics. All right. One of the things that happens a lot in this business is people talk a lot. Bad news has a tendency to travel a lot faster than good news, because we're always interested in all the drama and all the all the controversy and shit that goes on. Bad news doesn't only travel a lot faster than good news, but it's usually embellished 10 times more, because everyone loves a story. Everyone loves to give a little bit more of an oomph behind it. And it's a much more interesting kind of situation to listen into, rather than something that's a really, oh, this guy's great, he's awesome, he's fucking terrific. But, oh, this happened, this guy, and this happened, and that happened. people tend to gravitate towards there. And this is why you see so many reality shows doing so well and gossip magazines. And we've got a whole fucking industry based on it. I'm going to ask you kids, if you can, tempting as it may be, please do not get involved in politics. You know, the people that are your perceived quote unquote enemies may become your allies tomorrow. So you're not going to be everyone's friend. It's never going to work out that way. But I just implore you to maintain your level of independence, a level of dignity, and be professional. And that means understanding that you are only want to get involved in things that actually matter and that are directly relating to that person with the business at hand. Anything else that you may hear, whether it's true or not, is not really for you to go out and go off and repeat to anyone else. You know, look, I know in the past that I've been guilty of it, and as I've gotten older and wiser, and it's bit me on the ass, I've learned that now I'm just going to shut the fuck up. I'm going to get on with my business, and if I'm going to say anything about anyone, I'm going to keep it positive, and it's as simple as that. So wherever you can, just be positive about people, and not positive for the sake of it. If you've got something nice to say something nice. If you've got nothing nice to say, just keep it quiet and leave that to the domain of other people. It's funny how word gets around and how things catch up with others. I've seen it happen so many times in my life. And as I said, I've been bitten on the ass myself, and I finally learnt my lesson. And this is why now I do things a little bit differently. So listen, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I know it was a pretty short podcast, but I just wanted to speak mainly to you young work experience kids who are out there on the tear, try and do something with yourselves. I really wish you luck, and please don't let people get in your way. I see a lot of kids who have parents, they're well-meaning. They want their kids to do well. I completely understand that. I'm a parent myself, but I also understand that as a parent, I want my kids to be happy. And so while I don't support kids telling their parents to go and fuck off or be overly rebellious in that respect, mums and dads mean well. Sometimes they've had bad experiences themselves in life, and so they don't want you to fall into a certain trap. But, you know, your parents had to go. Now it's your turn to do your thing. And so I would just say that you respectfully let your parents know that, hey, you know what? I've got a life. I'm not doing anything illegal, immoral. This is what I love to do. This is what I want to try my hand at. And at least give it a red hot crack before you try and go down option B. But in my experience, those who persist with something long enough will eventually get there. And know that if you don't necessarily succeed overnight, you know, you can do other things on the side while you're building your business. That's exactly what I did. It took me 21 years to get from a point of zero work in my business to the point of building a critical mass. It doesn't have to be 21 years for you. I decided that I wanted to build a studio at this particular standard, and that takes money and resources, and therefore it took a lot longer than what some of you will take to get to doing what you want to do. Okay, well, that is it for me. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much to the Cave Hub in Bond Street, Abbotsford. Thank you to Amiga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA Academy. I love you fuckers. Looking forward to the next podcast the next week. I still don't know who it's going to be yet, but it's going to be someone good, I promise you. All right, please be nice to each other, but more importantly, be nice to yourselves. Love you fuckers. We'll see you on the flip side. Okay, see ya. Mwah.